Live from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida, the home of News Channel 8, your official BUCS station. This is BUCS Bonus on WFLA Now.
A 3-game losing streak for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, falling on Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. Man, it always comes down to a coin toss, it feels like, in big games with the Chiefs. We're here to break down how the Bucs flipped that frown upside down against the San Francisco 49ers at Raymond James Stadium coming up this weekend. Welcome into the Stream Center, folks, with Bucs insiders Dan Lucas and Aileen Hnatiuk back on the program. Aileen, you're back.
She's back. Dun, dun, dun.
We were just talking about how we're going to have a parallel park off.
Oh, yeah.
During the countdown,
yes,
we were bragging about our respective parallel parking skills.
Well, it was the conversation. I don't know how we got to it. I think I went there because I never go on a tangent.
We're talking about our talents.
Yeah. So one of my talents is parallel parking. And I don't mind talking about it to the world because I might be the best parallel parker in the world.
And then I challenged that, and I said, I think that I am. So I think the second most exciting thing happening on Sunday is parallel park off before kickoff.
Yeah, anytime. Any conditions, too.
Anytime, any day, anywhere.
Listen, if you guys want to take a stick shift and do this in San Francisco, I'll parallel park that sucker.
Do it. Let's do it.
It doesn't matter.
You guys are fair weather parallel parkers to me.
JB, how are you?
In New York, you have to parallel park to survive.
Yeah, but in New York, it does. If you hit front and back, it doesn't matter. It's part of the process.
It's a
part
good
of the process.
Until, the big guy walking down the street,
he sees his car.
Right. It just so happens to be Fat Joe, and he's looking at you, and you're like, that's my car. Why did you bump into it?
Exactly.
Welcome to the most unhinged season or show open that we've ever had on BUCS Bonus. We're, of course, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and a Monday Night Football matchup that had all the makings of an upset until, of course, the coin flip. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs do what they do in Arrowhead, and they have not lost a game in the regular season. They have not lost a game going back to last regular season, of course, them being the two-time defending Super Bowl champions. Let's go to the recap here on BUCS Bonus. The Kansas City Chiefs 30, Buccaneers 24. This is a 3-game losing streak now for the Bucs. So I'm going to ask each of you before we turn the page to the 49ers coming into Raymond James Stadium this week, what is the biggest reason for the 3-game losing streak? Is it just how tough the schedule is? Is it injuries? Is it everything? Who would like to go first?
Well, it is the schedule for sure, because you're in what we have called on this show many times the gauntlet portion of the schedule, where losses could stack up if you didn't do things almost perfect. I think this game magnified that. The Ravens game did the same thing. What's frustrating when you look at this schedule and these losses mounting are the fact that they were winnable. The Falcons was winnable twice. The Chiefs game was winnable. In the Ravens game, they were outplayed big time, and then they took care of business against the Saints. So this game that I would consider to be winnable coming up on Sunday, the same issues will be exposed if the Bucs are not, the old P's and Q's against a 49ers team that's coming in here a little hungry for a win coming off of a bye week. So just little details are costing this team. It's not like the Bucs are going out and they're inept and just getting manhandled by the opposition. However, this was always a danger when we started the season, and we talked about this portion of the schedule and this quest to get to the bye week alive. And the injuries, everything's counting.
I think to answer JB's question, it is a little bit of everything, but you're speaking to the people when you say that these losses are so close, and Baker said that in his press conference today. He was like, we're right there. And I keep joking, I'm tired of predicting these games because, they lose to the Broncos and then almost beat the Chiefs in overtime. You can never guess correctly around here. But in terms of the injury deal, you can't replace a Mike Evans, right, or Chris Godwin, but this is the NFL. There's a lot of these younger guys that are waiting for their chance, and a lot of them are stepping up, and it's really, really impressive to see. You got Raheem Jarrett flashing. He's making some big plays. Ryan Miller obviously scoring that touchdown to send the Bucs to overtime. He's undrafted free agent, so that's really cool. A really cool story there in itself. But just finding ways to win. A lot of these things are situational in decisions. I mean, one thing Todd Bowles is not going to do is regret something, right? Instead of going for two on that, instead of sending it to overtime against the Chiefs. So they'll never regret these decisions, but they got to make some smart ones come Sunday, especially, with what they got.
Something we've seen happening here in the past couple games. One, defensively, they're allowing too many points, period. And we could pick on them for 2 hours if we wanted to. But we cannot escape the fact that we are witnessing really the growth of an offense without two of its biggest pieces. And in the case of Monday night, Baker didn't have his top three receivers.
Right.
Jalen McMillan was inactive when the inactives came out, so he's got a hamstring as well. But so these role players that have had to play bigger roles, beginning with Cade Otton and the running back rotation, those are the first two for me. And then this past Monday, we saw the emergence of Sterling Shepard in more of a major role coming through. Trey Palmer had some key catches at key moments. You're still missing the names, of course, and you're trying to do this by committee, and yet the offense keeps going and is scoring enough points to win. Baker's stats are elite among his peers in the NFL. He's number 1 in touchdown passes, number 2 in passing yards, and you can say game situation dictates that all you want. Bottom line is he's completing some passes and didn't have any turnovers Monday night, which was starting to creep into the game a little bit before that.
Someone asked him today, they said, hey, you are just absolutely crushing it. Does it frustrate you at all that you're doing so well, you're playing so well, but you guys are still losing? And he was like, and this is one of the reasons you just love Baker Mayfield. He says, I don't care, but he was like, that doesn't matter to me. The stats don't matter. I could be playing lights out, all the this or that, but if we lose, I'm mad. And I want to win. The stats don't matter. I want to win for the guys. I want to win for the team. He's such a team player.
What's disheartening, though, for the team in general is this gauntlet, which began with the Thursday night game at Atlanta. You now have 2 losses that took place in overtime, where the Bucs offense never saw the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know, and they're going to need to.
The defense needs to stop when it needs to stop. That's what's, the root of this.
And we'll take some positives with the defense against the Chiefs. Talk about Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea, dude.
4
they
sacks.
were fun to watch. Oh my God, it's like every time I looked at the screen, I'm like, sack. I'm like, okay, guys. Well, I don't know what y'all had for breakfast, but
I didn't think that they would get. I didn't think they would get to Mahomes like that. That was pre ankle tweak.
Yeah.
That Mahomes had on a touchdown pass, tweaked his own ankle, and but I think those guys really did a good job of containing him in the pocket. Mahomes is what makes him different to everybody among the elites is even if you keep him in the pocket, he can beat you throwing a ball over his head like a skyhook from Kareem or something and complete a pass. Before you think he's gonna a loss of 9 and it's a gain of 3. Yeah. A beautiful gain of 3 for the Chiefs offense. So I thought they did a decent job of even containing that. However, the passes across the middle, missed tackles, which I think both teams were victims of missed tackles because of the conditions, but that's just haunting this defense, and it's preventing them. You see the schedule right there, and I look at these last 3 losses, and you can pick on certain plays in the defense. The Falcons game at home was an absolute nightmare for the defense. The Ravens game, Derrick Henry, just the memories of these games, when you go back and replay them in your head off just from the top of your head, you're like, oh yeah, big play by the Ravens, big play, Kyle Pitts running, no one's near him. It's just it's defensive issues that, in my opinion, have kind of gotten them in this spot.
They've learned a lot, I'm sure, about themselves the last 3 games, but I think what we learned about the Bucs, which I think they already knew about themselves, is that they can compete without their 2 top receivers. They can compete without some of their best players, and don't forget about that. I mean, a loss is a loss, a win is a win, but you cannot. It cannot be remiss that they are really I mean, they almost beat an undefeated team. Took a team to overtime without their, like, you have to remember that is very impressive.
You can't ignore that, but at the same time, there's just with the losses mounting the way they are, and we're looking at the NFC South here. It's every loss right now is an absolute dagger.
Yeah,
you're at the point now already. They've played 9 games. You're at the point now where you need help. You got to start stacking wins, and you need the Falcons to stumble. You need other teams to do you a favor. And the 2 teams below you, the Panthers and the Saints, probably aren't going to help you.
Right. Well, they dropped 2 games out of the NFC South division, and so now Atlanta holds the tiebreaker because of the 2-game sweep in the
you're basically you can't finish tied. You have to win the division outright.
Yeah.
And and right now, it appears that the NFC South may have just one playoff team, the division champion. So that's the dire straits part of it.
And as we look at the NFC South standings here, clearly the Falcons have a commanding lead in the division with the tiebreaker hold over the Buccaneers. You know what just struck me that I find to be pretty interesting?
What's that?
I just put 2 and 2 together here. Before we turn it over to the 49ers, because that's really the meat and potatoes of the episode. Todd Bowles is all of a sudden the longest tenured head coach in the division.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dennis Allen's gone.
Dennis Allen is gone with the Saints now. Raheem Morris, of course, you have in Atlanta, and Dave Canales, formerly our OC, now there with Carolina. Todd Bowles is the longest. Man,
how about that?
How about that for being a head coach in the NFL?
Attaboy, Todd. Should we give him the applause over there?
Yeah, there you go.
Applause effect.
It's exciting.
We also have.
That's not just like him. You've been hanging out with him too much on Mondays.
Yeah, well, our conversations on Monday are half of them. They're great to just catch up with him, talk about the family. Boy, this guy has perspective. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So let's look at the Buccaneers game preview. The San Francisco 49ers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, both teams right around 500. The 49ers at 4-4. It's a 1:00 kickoff on Fox. Let's begin with the key storyline at the top. In Cohen, we trust. Offense, a Buccaneers bright spot, no doubt. Even with the key injuries, you noted it, Dan. The emergence of Cade Otton as a pass catcher, the 3-headed monster of Rashad White, Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker. There are still things to like about the Bucs offense, and you have to feel like those wide receivers that are just now getting reps in, of course, in real-time game action, that things are going to get figured out here, no doubt, right?
I just feel like when Mike Evans is reintroduced into the mix, things settle down a little bit, and it's not like, okay, well, now we got to replace Godwin. Let's just shove a name in there. You have enough of a sample size and data, or whatever you want to call it, that you can bring Mike back in and fill Godwin's spot and still and then say, all right, Cade Otton was red hot during the stretch without Evans. How can we incorporate him a little more to maybe free up Evans a little bit more and make that something else for teams to think about? That's where I think they've gotten with this offense. And the fact that this 3-person rotation at running back has really done pretty well, that it's something else to keep the thing steady. I think that the run game is probably, for me, has opened up everything else to become successful. And with that, you're now throwing passes to Shepard, to Palmer. Miller's had more targets, that you're now giving Baker more options and more trust with different people, that if A and B and C aren't there, well, then choice D might be the best way to go. But he's already thrown a bunch of passes to that guy. He feels comfortable doing that in games.
Right. And come after that bye week, if you're a Bucs fan, you got to be a little bit excited, right? When he comes back in, and then that opens up. Then Ryan Miller being a bit of a secret with them having Mike in double coverage. And then there's some gems out there.
Yeah.
And this could turn into this could turn around.
He's not calling offense to survive right now. He's still calling it in control, with a chance to win the game. It's not like you're, well, that didn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board. Well, that didn't work either. That's not happening offensively. So I just feel like there's a point where this can all settle, and the offense can keep humming along. If it does, by the way, the numbers for Baker are going to be through the roof.
Yeah, and
by the end of the season,
I think Liam Cohen is piecing this interesting puzzle together right now. I read that BUCS.com in one of their articles, and I thought that was just it was so brilliant because it's so interesting right now with the guys they have and the guys they don't have, and the way he's drawn up plays and using guys is working.
And a couple of moves made before the season, putting Ben Bredesen at the left guard, a position that was such a liability last year. Graham Barton has worked out at center, and then the right side of the line, Hnatiuk coming back from the concussion has performed well. So the Cody Mauks and obviously Tristan Wirfs on the left. We don't even mention him anymore because
he's so good.
Yeah, he's like a concrete pillar. The offensive line collectively has, I'm not even going to say overperformed. It's just done well and kept Baker from being under duress that much. He has been sacked and he has escaped the pocket a few times. Even Monday night, he ran a couple of times. But it's just the offense to me is just, it's impressed me. I'm very pleased with with Liam Cohen's what he's done here.
Yeah, me too.
To put some threads together,
yeah.
You noted how Liam Cohen has stayed committed to the run, and yet Baker is still among the league leaders in passing.
Yeah,
it's
like weird.
It is weird, but weird in all
but
the
it's
best.
Real.
It's awesome. It's certainly a silver lining with the Bucs offense. Let's flip things over to the Niners here for a second because we might have the return of Christian McCaffrey. What are we hearing? What's the latest on McCaffrey? And here's the thing about McCaffrey I find interesting about CMC. You're going to tell me that his first game of the season is going to be against a Bucs front that boasts Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey. If you're McCaffrey, you're like, man, of all the games that I'm going to come back to, it's against the Bucs front few.
Well, it's imposing for sure, but 2 straight seasons in a row, the 49ers have utilized McCaffrey in the run and the pass, and he's absolutely had the Bucs for lunch both times. So when the 49ers acquired him, and it was really one of the final pieces they needed to get over the hump. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal because he was in the NFC South and just the Bucs defense contained him. He was always a good running back, but when he went out there, I just didn't think it would be what it became. At least against the Bucs. I mean, this was a guy had one 100-yard game against the Bucs. And the first meeting with San Francisco, he went off running. Last year, he had a big game, but it was both run and pass, or rushing and receiving against the Bucs. So everything for the 49ers offense in the past 2 meetings has just clicked, beginning with McCaffrey. And then they got all these other weapons around him.
Yeah.
And they don't. And with McCaffrey out of the offense and Brandon Ayuk's been out of the offense for the Niners, they're not where they think they can be, but they're still pretty darn good with Brock Purdy's numbers. And they got the 4th leading rusher in the NFL right now without Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So now you're going to introduce him into this. This is a tricky little matchup here.
I think
for the Bucs defense.
I think we do see him on Sunday. What do you think?
Absolutely, you see him on Sunday. So his window is open to come off injured reserve. He's had an Achilles injury that really became during the offseason. I guess it was from his offseason workouts. So he's now in the window. They can activate him at any time. I don't think they activate him until the weekend. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but when they do activate him, they'll have to make a roster move to compensate for that. But he's not going to start practicing and not be pronounced ready. The only thing,
if these guys can go, they go.
The only thing, remember, they're coming off their bye week too, so this has been a slow progression for McCaffrey from a fitness standpoint. That's the only setback. If he gets out in practices and he tries to test himself a little bit, and then this weekend he's a little sore and maybe he's not quite ready. That's the only thing that would keep him out Sunday. Because if I have Christian McCaffrey on my team, that you're playing, buddy. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking.
Dan Lucas.
You're playing.
We're talking about one of the top 5 players in football when healthy, right? I mean,
85% Christian McCaffrey's playing.
Yup.
That's what I'm doing.
So the defense, of course, I would imagine Todd Bowles' defense preparing for the inevitability that McCaffrey will be taking the field in some way, shape, or form. So not Purdy versus Purdy. And real quick, let's just talk about Brock Purdy. How did the Bucs defense prepare for Brock Purdy because at times he can look.
He's inconsistent.
Yeah.
He's another, but Brock Purdy has against the Bucs looks like Joe Namath. And I like it right down to the legend of Brock Purdy when nobody had heard of this guy and his parents go to his debut a couple years ago. And I don't know if you remember, they're running this story. They're running some business where they live and they had to take the day off. They put a note on the door. We'll be back Monday. We're watching our son play in the NFL for the first time. He goes out and he just absolutely wallops the Bucs. And you thought, and I thought the Bucs were going to roll in that game. I like, who's Brock Purdy? And he was unbelievable,
Mr. Irrelevant.
And then he topped it. I think he had a perfect quarterback rating against the Bucs. He's played them twice, and he has lit them up twice. 5 or 6 touchdown passes against the Bucs, including last year when the Bucs were starting to come around a little bit. Brock Purdy picked them apart. This is so intriguing to me because I think the Bucs defense, you would think, like you mentioned, you said Kalijah Cansey, Vita Vea made a huge difference Monday. And Brock Purdy's going to pick them apart? It might happen.
It might.
Yes.
It might. I mean, we hope it doesn't. But like I said, unlike our friend over here sitting next.
So let me. We do not have a Buckified Bert segment today. He was unable to call in, but we do have.
He's a little upset.
Co-host of Root and Prox. Can we get a? Yeah, we're gonna get an applause.
49er-fied Terrence over here.
Yes. Can you hear me? You got me?
We got
Okay.
you.
Oh, he's mic'd up.
We gave him the mic, Dan, just for you.
Can the people see me? Do I need to get in the light
I hope
more?
they don't see you with that
Do they
shirt
need to see
on.
me?
You
Why
got
don't
a
you show off
49ers
show
hoodie over here.
what you're
my
wearing
Lord.
here today? Oh, man.
So Terrence, I think I love your 49er fandom.
Absolutely.
I actually, when I was a kid, I went to a 49ers game in Candlestick Park. My dad took me I was out there to visit family for Christmas, and we went to a Monday night game, and they scored 45 points against Mike Ditka's Chicago Bear defense.
85.
Yes, so it was an unbelievable night, and I had 49er fever, man.
There you go.
I thought it was great. However, I don't think you could be a Niners fan today and age unless you can parallel park in the city.
That I can do.
On the hill.
I can parallel park. Yes.
Well, I was roasting.
I can definitely parallel park.
I was roasting him because I'm like, why are you 49ers fan? Are you from there? He's like, no. But you didn't tell me the answer, so why are you?
So my mom got me a 49ers outfit, 49ers Halloween
There you go.
uniform
Nice.
when I was like
Beautiful.
4 and just gravitated to
Aw.
that. So, and just been
That's
a
cool.
diehard fan ever since. So
I was a Bill
true
Walsh
faithful
kid.
fan.
I was a Bill Walsh kid.
Yeah.
Come
Come on back, Dan.
The catch. I just thought that was a cool generation. I was really young at the tail end of the Super Steelers dynasty, and so the 49ers kind of took over at that point in the early 80s, and the Bucs were also starting to become relevant at that time, 79, 80. So I just thought Bill Walsh was cool.
Yeah.
Joe Montana and the whole culture around him. Jerry Rice. I mean, it was so cool to be a Niners fan. So I thought that was
Still
kind of
is.
neat.
So
Thought it was neat.
Let's ask the question.
Yes.
By the way, Terrence Middlebrooks, of course, of Rooted in Progress, one of the other shows that's produced here in the Stream Center, and he hangs out with us for BUCS bonus episodes, and of course, with the Niners episode, we had to get him on here.
Wasn't going to miss it at all, JB.
Brock Purdy, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down on Brock Purdy. What do we got?
Come on, man. Brock Purdy, 2 thumbs up.
Oh, two
Wow.
thumbs
Listen, man,
up.
I'm gonna tell you, we've been through some great quarterbacks, and you say Joe Namath, I was gonna compare him to Joe Montana, So to me
He's
the
also
real
in the
Joe.
Hall,
But
it's
I
fine.
mean, we've had our highs and lows with quarterbacks, and right now we're in that period where, at least from my opinion, that we're high at quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
On an affordable deal, to say
On
the
an
least. Now,
affordable deal, absolutely.
you have to pay him at some point.
Well,
you know,
I have
but-
to admit, he is on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Brock
Who
Purdy
Brock is?
Yeah, he is.
You buried the lead, so
I know.
you have a rooting interest
I
in the
have
Niners
none.
now.
He was available, best
I think a
available.
little
I thought.
49ers blood bleeds through us all at some
No,
form.
it doesn't.
Tom Brady talked about how much he was a 49ers fan growing up. Aaron Rodgers was
Aaron
very
Rodgers,
upset
too. It's a Bay
because
Area
he
boy.
wasn't drafted
Yeah.
by the 49ers when he coming out of college.
You know what I think's cool about the modern day 49ers? First of all, that John Lynch is the GM and a friend of ours here. Yeah. It's so cool to see him succeed. And then Kyle Shanahan, who always laughs and says he would get Gruden's coffee back in the day when he was. If you look, I think it was 2004 or 2005. There's a BUCS team photo. And Kyle Shanahan is an assistant. They have like some invented offensive quality control or something. And he looks like he just got his driver's license. And he was on that staff. He was, kind of under the Gruden tutelage at that time. And he just then skyrocketed through the coaching ranks. I wish I had it with me.
If you look at that staff, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Sean McVay's on that staff.
Yes,
Matt
McVay.
LaFleur. Those guys look like a bunch of high school.
Even Mike Tomlin looks like a kid on that staff.
Kids.
Yeah, it's something. And people when they go through the coaching tree under Gruden, Shanahan's name is sometimes forgotten when they start listing those guys, and it's he's still a young head coach, so. I think he's done a good job. We talk about Evans and Godwin not being around. He's dealing without Hnatiuk, and didn't have all of his tools. He hasn't had McCaffrey, so the Niners are in a position. They're 4-4 with great statistics, but not the wins to back it up. Kind of like the Bucs offensively, especially.
So let me ask you this, Terrence.
Go ahead.
You work with Buckified Bert here at the official BUCS station.
Yes.
Of course, at WFLA. On Sunday,
you're
rooting for the Niners.
Of course.
You're a diehard Niners fan.
Right.
Is there any rooting interest, even 1%, inside of you for the Bucs on Sunday?
You know what, man? And during the preseason, I work with WFLA, and we produce the BUCS.
That's right.
BUCS game. So we travel with the team and all that, and work in the BUCS production truck with Dan and the rest of those guys. Put on an awesome broadcast, and so I do root for them, at that time. But man, you're going against one of my
but not on Sunday.
Team. Not on Sunday. And the thing about Bert, I said,
your boys.
I made a promise with Bert. I said, Bert, no matter what, you got to promise me that come Monday morning we're still friends. So
what was his answer?
Man, get out of my face. Man, get out of here, man. I'm gonna go to HR on you. So,
Oh.
Well, let's hear it. Let's hear it for the one and only Terrence Middlebrooks.
Yes, thank you guys. Appreciate you all
on the program.
You're a great sport, Terrence.
Yeah, we love you, but we don't love you
and
for
I'll
being
say
a
this
49ers
real quick.
fan.
I'll say this: if you guys just happen to luck up and win, I will be back here next week showing my face.
Oh Lord!
And giving you guys
the
thumbs
humble
up.
pie episode.
There we go.
Yes.
Well, you know what? We'll dedicate the whole. If it's a Bucs win, we'll dedicate the whole bye week episode to just roasting you. That's what we'll do. Terrence Middlebrooks, of course, of Rooted in Progress. Before we wrap up the episode, you guys, let's just quickly go over some key injuries. Let's talk about Jalen McMillan. He's our injury spotlight. The write-up, of course, here from Garrett Phillips. And, of course, we'll have Bucs injury notes on WFLA.com. Jalen and others, what are the injury storylines this week heading into the game against the Niners?
Jalen McMillan's the big one. Checking hamstrings. They have another hamstring issue. It might have been, was it Shepard or Jarrett? One of the two.
I think it was Shepard.
Yeah,
it
Shepard.
Jamel Dean's a big one too.
Yes.
Isn't he? He's coming off IR soon.
Defensive line, Greg Gaines.
He was out. Yeah, he was out there.
He was practicing.
Well, there was a walkthrough.
He could be the next
Wednesday.
guy to come back to kind of solidify the depth on the defensive line. So your Jamel Dean would be the biggest one.
That'll be great. That'll be great to have Jamel out there.
And so the Mike Evans timeline is no this week for sure. Then
After
the Bucs.
bye week,
Then the
correct.
Bucs bye week is next, and then the Sunday after that. So 3 Sundays from now, the Bucs are at the New York Giants, and they're hoping to have Mike Evans back for that game. Not a guarantee, but that's when they kind of forecasted his return.
Forecasted.
if
I like
everything
that.
goes well. I'm so obsessed with this Kyle Shanahan team photo.
We're gonna find it.
I'm looking at. I found it. It's kind of a blurry.
That's what the one I think I found.
It's kind of blurry. I'll hold it up to the.
Oh yeah, here we go. Here,
camera here. Let me see if I can. point him out. He's at the top of my finger there.
That's the same one I have.
Can't really see it. That's the 2004 photo, and I'm telling you, when you go through those two rows of coaches, Malcolm Glazer there in the middle, the owner of the Bucs. Rest in peace there, Malcolm. And his coaching tree is insane from this team, 2002 to 2005. But Kyle Shanahan, right there, was a kid. And when I say he was a kid on that staff, he was literally a kid, and used this to really get his career started. And now he's the head coach of the 49ers and really one of the best young coaches in the game. It's phenomenal to watch guys, kind of go that way. Mike Tomlin probably had the most success coming off of that staff for sure. Monty Kiffin.
I'm looking here. Yeah. So Jake Gruden, the offensive assistant.
Yeah.
Raheem Morris,
Herm
assistant
Edwards.
defensive backs coach.
Herm Edwards.
Mike Tomlin, defensive backs.
Yep.
Herm Edwards, Kyle Shanahan, Monty Kiffin, and then, of course, John Gruden, head coach. I mean, a lot of big names on that team. We'll, of course, keep you posted all week long on WFLA.com. Everything that the Bucs need to do to stop their losing streak at 3 and into the bye week at 5-5. The Niners and the Bucs play, of course, at Raymond James Stadium, 1 o'clock on this Sunday. We appreciate you joining us here on this edition of Bucs Bonus. And, of course, we will see you next time here from your official Bucs station.